Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Sahara Omar. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist practicing here in the state of Texas. And today's video, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit more on what are values. I wanted to give you guys like a definition of the word values and examples of it. How does trauma disconnect us from our values? And I want to share with you what I see in the clinical space as a therapist. And then I want to give you guys an actual tool, a resource that I want you to use to reconnect back with your values in general, okay? Alrighty, so when we think of the word values first, definition-wise, values are any principles or a set of beliefs or even standards that can guide a person or even an organization, like a work environment, for example, on how to think or make decisions or even behave. And when I work with clients, I ask this question a lot, like, what is your value here? Or what are your values in this experience, right? And the challenging piece is a lot of people do not know their values. And that's the hard part, right? Like, part of doing the work is to understand your own values, like what's guiding you, what are your principles, what are the standards that you have for yourself at the core, okay? Now, examples of values, I wanted to share with you guys at least my top 5 values. So for example, and the hard part is you have to just not say the word, you want to dig deeper and understand like how are you defining that value for yourself. And when you are meeting people, whether it is coworkers or a company or family, friends, or even significant other, you want to make sure that your values align. And I'll share in a little bit like what I see in the therapy space. Okay, so first, let's define it even further down. Okay, so when we said values are principles or belief or standards that guide somebody on how to make decisions and behave, now here are practical examples of personal values. Okay, so for me, for example, the number one thing I value is honesty. That means for me, you have to tell the truth and be trustworthy, even if it's really hard. Just be honest up front, okay? And another value example is respect. I'm big on respect. For example, treating others with kindness and consideration. Even if I don't feel like it, I will still extend the kindness. I will still communicate. I will still be considerate of them as well too. Also, I'm big on responsibility, like taking ownership of the things that I do, my rights and my wrongs. So I'm really big on accountability in general. A good example, even it was on Friday, I scheduled a patient for a session. Instead of telehealth session, I scheduled them in person. And on Fridays, I work in telehealth session space. So I'm not in the office. And the client showed up in the wrong place, essentially, right? So that was totally my fault. So I had to take full accountability. I apologized, and I rescheduled them for this week, right? So, and that's part of taking accountability is even if you make a mistake, it's okay to say that was my fault. I made that mistake. I'm so sorry. Also, I value personally faith. I'm really big on my relationship with Christ. I'm Christian, so faith to me means trusting and believing in God, specifically Christ, even when you cannot see the outcome and even when you don't fully understand what He's doing. A lot of people struggle with their faith, in a personal relationships as far as like connections goes. So for me, I don't question God as much, right? Like I trust Him even when I don't see the outcome. And the cool part about God, with my faith at least, He shows me the final outcome, and we just have to wait in the process. And that's the hard part for a lot of people, right? That's where the faith is getting tested on. And then the last example of my core values is like, for example, is compassion. I'm really big on caring about other people and helping people, educating people, showing up for people. The world will be a better place if people were just a little bit more compassionate and caring towards each other as well too. Okay, so like I said, the challenge that I see a lot with people is don't just list out the words. Like you want to dig deeper and be very specific. What does that mean for you? Like what's the actual definition you're assigning? Okay. Now, trauma, right? So how does trauma influence our values? So trauma is so fascinating. It will literally rip you away from your value system. Like I meet people who would say, for example, I value honesty, but I'm lying all the time. I'm lying to the people that I care about. The core of that disconnect is always going to be trauma, right? So Because people, when they come from a traumatic background, or if they experience a lot of traumas in general, even as an adult, their brain goes into a survival mode, right? So survival mode, it's all about how do I make it to tomorrow without getting hurt. And sometimes the brain learns shortcuts, right? So lying, for example, is a shortcut of making it to tomorrow. But in that process of that shortcut, the brain is not recognizing I'm damaging all the connections in front of me as well. Okay, so that's the power of trauma. It literally separates you from your value. And part of healing and becoming a better version of ourselves, it's not erasing who you are or erasing your values. It's learning how to reconnect with your values, even when your brain is going against the value itself, right? So for example, if you value honesty and your brain is saying, oh, well, I don't want to lose this connection, so I'm just going to lie to this person. The challenge in that moment is to tell the truth, even if it hurts the person in front of you. Because we can work with the honesty. We cannot work with lying. Because lying is just literally you're altering reality altogether, right? So that's what I see a lot in therapy. People come in, they have their value and they're completely disconnected from it. Or the second wave of people that I see, the second example of people that I see is people who have zero idea what their values are. Nobody ever asked them what they care about. Nobody ever asked them what guides you in your life. They kind of like living life in a survival mode, like just making it to tomorrow. And they haven't even thought about like, do I care about this? Or is this something that is important to me in the first place? Okay. Here's another thing that I see in the clinical space. This one is mind-boggling at times, even as a clinician, because it's just wild to see how people are disconnected from their own values, right? So, which is choosing people that have the same value as you do. The hard part that I see with romantic relationships specifically, and even friendships lately, I've noticed this pattern a lot with friends, like clients talking about their friendships, and also relationships that you have with your family members, whether it's like a parent or a sibling or even extended family members, is people stay in relationships even when their values are not matching. If your core values are not matching, that relationship will not work. For example, if somebody cares about, I'm going to keep using honesty because it's just the top thing that I see in trust issues with families and friends and romantic relationships as well. So if one person is valuing honesty and the other person either are disconnected from that value themselves or they never even value that to themselves as well, like honesty, what happens is a lot of conflict shows up of trying to force the other person to value the same thing that you value. And unfortunately, the relationship will not work. You can't force people to have the same value as you. You have to just learn how to choose people that have the same value as you do. That's why it's important to sit down and reflect and ask yourself, what are the top 5 important values that I have? And when you meet people, when you connect with people, ask those deeper questions of what is important to them, what are some of their values, and then also line up and pick people that have that same value as you do, okay? Now the question becomes, well, Dr. Omar, I already have family and friends in my life. Do I just let them go if we don't have the same value? The answer is always set better boundaries, right? So I don't believe in cutting people off. I do believe in definitely cutting abusive people off, but people that are just not matching well with you, or people that do not have the same value, or you don't see eye to eye in certain topics, the goal is to not cut people off in those ways, as long as they're not abusive, right? I do advocate for setting better boundaries, saying things like, okay, that's not something I believe in, or that's not something I value, but can we change topic for now, or can we put a pin into this and come back to it later? So with healthy relationships, it doesn't always have to have the same value all the time. It's that respect that goes into, even when your values are not matching, can you still coexist with one another? And if the answer is no, one person's being aggressive or abusive, then I usually generally ask people, what's the point of that relationship in general, okay? Now, I would put for you guys in the description box below a PDF file that I use PDF file that I use for all of my patients of 200 different types of values. So what I recommend is first print out the file and highlight all the ones that stand out to you as you are reading them. Like, does it resonate? Is this something that you care about? Do you have this specific value? And like I said, make sure that you define it for yourself. And as you are narrowing it down, you want to narrow it down to either 5 to 10. You don't want to do more than 10. More than 10, it becomes a little bit more problematic in the sense of how you connect with people, and it's really hard to keep a tab of it as well too, okay? So narrow it down to 5 to 10 different values, and then assess your relationships. Look back and look at all the relationships that did not work out. Is it because of mismatch of values? Or look at the relationships that are working well for you right now in your life. Is it because you guys have aligned values? And typically the goal is, as you progress in life, you want to pick people who you have similar or same values with, so that way life becomes so much easier and so much fun to do life with them as well, okay? Alrighty, I hope you guys liked the video. Feel free to hit that thumbs up. Leave me a comment. What are your thoughts on the word values, and is this new information for you? And I will see you guys in the next video as well, okay? Thank you.